What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the ThrashManiac99 YouTube channel, and yes, I am finally back with another album review, and I know this is not the typical time that I would do an album review, but since I felt bad that I couldn't do anything for Sunday because, well, we ended up leaving from vacation a day later, so I decided to make it up to you guys by doing two album reviews this week, one today and then one on Thursday. The one I'm doing today is on probably the biggest release that came out the weekend of July 29th, and that is the 12th studio album from Austrian Blackened death metal legends Belphegor, the Devils. So, Belphegor, for those who don't know, Belphegor is, like I said, a blackened death metal band from Austria that formed back in 1991, and are kind of considered an early pioneer of blackened death metal, even though they originally started out a little bit more on the black metal side. And then you get to albums like Blood Sabbath and The Last Supper, where they began to experiment with death metal and have become one of the premier blackened death metal bands going today, along with bands like Necrophobic and Behemoth, among many others in that genre. Now, full disclosure, I've never listened to a whole lot of Belphegor. I've listened to a fair amount of songs, and I liked what I heard. I definitely liked their approach to their brand of blackened death metal, having a little bit, like, they balance everything out right, but sometimes you hear, especially in the vocals, they get a little bit more on the black metal end of the scale. Like Helmuth, the vocalist and guitarist, definitely has an interesting vocal approach when it comes to his black metal shriek and his death metal growl. How does he perform on this album, as well as how's the album itself? Well, why don't we check it out? So we kick things off with the title track, The Devils, and after some creepy chanting, straight into some haunting riffs that definitely feel like Nile or Morbid Angel inspired, with marching blast beats along with these riffs. The verses showcase hints of melody and atmosphere, while those melodies and atmosphere definitely feel unsettling and disturbing, especially with how it's given off throughout the track. The choruses brings in more of those kind of black metal influences with the tremolo riffing mixed on top of another marching blast beat. Things get doomy in the breakdown section before the second chorus comes in, and then the lead that we get here has a little bit of shred, but with great melodic flair, again bringing in that Nile influence along with what they were going for. So we're starting things off on a strong note, then things kind of tapered off a little bit with the next track, Totentanz Dance Macabre. You get this wild tremolo riff and blast beat right out of the gate, and it does sound evil and cool, but the thing is, they got a little bit too repetitive. Like, they kept repeating the same tremolo riff and blast beat idea. That's kind of an issue that I have with a lot of black metal bands, is that they just go to one tremolo riff or one tremolo chord and blast beats and not really do much of anything else. So it kind of dragged on a little bit in the verses, though you get some cool thrash breaks before the choruses, but then the choruses kind of return to those tremolo riffs and blast, but the tremolo riffs definitely feel a little more epic in the choruses. And then the lead section here is just nothing but squealy dive bombs, but it does lead to a cool chug riff while blast beats are going at the very end. Not the best song, but hey, we pick things back up in a big way with the following track, and don't crucify me here because some of these song titles are in German. Even though they're from Austria, they're doing German lyrics and titles, so I'm going to try and pronounce this next track. Oh god, this is going to be difficult. Glorifizierung des Teufels? I apologize if I butchered that. I am terrible with German. And I know Hannah from the Horseman Podcast, if you're watching this, you're gonna murder me, but I fully expect it. Anyway, so this track starts off with a dark acoustic guitar line that does get broken up a little bit with electric guitars here in the beginning, and then it gets really doomy. Like, this is almost like a blackened death doom song. This almost kind of felt a little bit like a mix of 1914 and Hooded Menace kind of mixed together. The acoustic guitars even show up a little bit more to just add on to the darkness that is projecting within this track. The verses maintain that like dark, doomy vibe. The choruses, however, bring in some dark chanting vocals and melodic tremolo guitar lines on top of the doomy atmosphere. Excuse me, had some Mexican food starting to haunt me a bit. Anyways, then we get a somber lead, which is something unusual that I'm not used to hearing in Belphegor really at all. Because usually when I think Belphegor, I think brutality, evil darkness, and just chaos. Here with this track, like I said, it's more of a Blackened Death Doom song. And then the lead here, it's very somber to just break up the darkness a little bit. And it showcases a little bit more mature songwriting chops. Then we get to Damnation Hollandsters, or Hollandsters. It said the same thing, whatever. Another German word, I assume. Anyways, wild drums with some chugging riffs right out of the gate. And then the verses kind of trade off with the chugging riffs and the brutal tremolo and blast beat sections, which once again brings in that Nile influence. I know I'm saying a lot of Nile on here, but then again, when I listen to this album, I hear a lot that I would listen to on a Nile album, just from what my ears were picking up. Anyways, before the pre-chorus, you get another great acoustic guitar line. The pre-choruses even bring in these cool Morbid Angel riffs again, while the drums have some cool double bass work and cymbal accenting going on. And then the choruses kind of pretty much mix everything that this track has to offer. Chugs, tremolos, even a little bit of an epic quality shows up. More of the like Middle Eastern inspired acoustic guitars show up towards the end of the track, which again, more of that Nile vibe. And then you get two leads on here. The first lead is more of a shredding lead. The second lead is more of an atmospheric feeling lead. So, really cool contrast in the lead work on this track. Then we get to Virtus Asinara Prayer, which starts off with a dark tremolo riff, but with like a groovy doom beat, which is an odd contrast, but it works. Like tremolos on top of like a doom groove. Really unique to hear. Then things calm down as atmosphere is being built through gentle melody before that dark tremolo riff and groove comes back, but with some chanting vocals. And the tremolo riff has these cool key changes where it sounds like I think the guitars are tuned to, I want to say B flat, but there's these cool like key changes where it sounds like it's going to D-tuning, which was really cool to hear. Then towards the end of the album, or not the album, the end of the song, you get more like marching drums to kind of add something extra. Then we get to Kingdom of Cold Flesh. Sweet melodic guitar line to start this song off before more evil yet melodic tremolo riffs and blasts show up, leading through the choruses. And the verses get pretty thrashy. And the riffs here in the verses, it's weird. It's like they get heavier, but yet they're more somber somehow, which I'm just kind of scratching my head. Like, how do you have heavier yet somber riffs going at the same time, which is really cool to hear. The lead here has more of like a technical shred feel, and then vicious bass work, like a cool bass line comes in and it's powerful and just punches you right in the penis. Then we get to Righteous Incentum Diabolus, which starts off with an evil thick riff mixed in with thrash beats and evil tremolos again, and even the pre-verse continues that vibe. And this, like the riff work and the tremolos and the blasts, feel like a three-way mix of Morbid Angel, Nile, and Dark Funerals. So it's like technical Blackened death metal somehow. The verses brings in more of that Morbid Angel influence in the riffs with some excellent drum work. The pre-choruses get really doomy, while the pre-choruses. Then the choruses mix in some dark somber tremolo guitars and groove. Another fantastic lead section that mixes shred and melody, and even the acoustic guitar returns to accentuate that dark feel. Then we get to the final track, Creature of Fire, which was the shortest song of the album, not even 3 minutes. It's mostly like a marching tune. It's got marching drums to give off like a battle vibe. And really the guitar work is mostly classic metal-inspired melodic guitars, chanting vocals, and some tasteful, clean, and acoustic guitar work to just add more somber atmosphere. So overall, production-wise on this album sounded really good. It was done by Jens Bogren, who's one of the best metal producers of the last 20 years, I would say. So production-wise, it's great. In terms of songwriting, there were a couple of misfires, especially in Totentanz Dance Macabre, where it was just super repetitive, and sometimes those tremolo riffs can get repetitive, and I always say it in my black metal-oriented reviews, when you're just playing basically the same tremolo chords over and over for a long period of time, it does grow stale for me, and that's why I always say I'm very picky about black metal. But here, it's like only a couple of times where those tremolo riffs kind of got on my nerves, but they were able to break everything up perfectly on like the longer tracks with more chugging riffs and some doomy moments, some acoustic guitars. So definitely it sounds like Belphegor, in the 5 years since their last album, they've definitely experimented a little bit more, like longer songs, more songwriting chops are showing through. Couple of songs could have had some of the fat trimmed off, especially with those tremolos, but not all the tremolos were bad. There were some awesome tremolo riffs on here. It's just sometimes when they're playing the same line for way too long, it does get old for me after a bit. So the shorter songs didn't quite deliver that much for me, but the longer tracks that were like 4 minutes or longer, where they're experimenting with tempo changes and different outside influences, I think those really make this album, for me at least. And for those reasons, I'm going to give this album an 8.5 out of 10. This is a really good album. If you can get past the repetitive tremolo riffs and just focus on like what all they're experimenting with, you will dig this album for damn sure. I can definitely see myself going back and listening to some of these songs again, because there were just some, like, especially the title track, I gotta try and pronounce this again, Glorifizierung des Teufels, Damnation, Hollandsters, Virtus, Asinara Prayer, Righteous, or Ritus Incendum Diabolis. Those were definitely the standouts that made this album an 8.5 out of 10 for me. But anyways, those are just my thoughts. What did you guys think of Belphegor's The Devils? Let me know in the comments section below. As far as what I'm reviewing Thursday, I'm going to be reviewing the new Crisian album. But before I go, I do want to make a very important shout out and plug. And this is for a YouTuber that's just become a metalhead. She's a songwriter, singer, performer, and very talented and a really cool person. And that is a.k.a. I believe I'm saying that right. a.k.a. She's been doing reaction videos to metal bands over the past few months, and I enjoy her content and seeing that she's really passionate about getting into metal, and we could use some more lady presence in metal, especially because so it's like, I like hanging out with dudes, but sometimes too much of a sausage fest can be old after a while. So glad to see a pretty lady like Kaya come along in the YouTube metal community and showcasing that she truly loves metal and likes to discover new stuff. And I've been helping her discover some stuff too. Hell, she's going to be a guest on this weekend's Horseman podcast, which that's going to be fantastic. But anyways, her social media links are in the description box, her Instagram, her YouTube. Go check her out. You will not be disappointed. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Horns high. See you guys soon.
Yeah. So music, I think it was just kind of hearing like my parents listen to like just whatever they were listening to around the house, and like flipping through the music channels on TV. I'm not sure if you had what was like in the US and things, but in the UK we had like a few channels like Kerrang, Scuzz, things like that, which would play your kind of anything kind of mainstream at the time, if you could say so. Like you would get Slipknot, System of a Down,
Yes.
and loads of like Sum 41, Linkin Park, and all that kind of stuff.